Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are continuing our coverage of the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. And first thing on our agenda today is the possibility, the report, the rumor that another Russian warship, yes, an actual warship this time, not a patrol boat, may have been, in fact, hit by Ukrainian Neptune anti-ship missile systems. It's being reported. It is not being confirmed by the Kremlin nor the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense as of yet, but somewhere within the vicinity south of Odessa, it is being reported that a Grigorovich class frigate, the Stefan Makarov frigate, based on the Grigorovich line of frigates produced by Russia, and this is not a old warship. This vessel was commissioned in 2017. So if we look at this from the premise that the vessel was hit by Ukrainian missiles, that should be a great concern for the Russians. That would mean that this ship did not have the ability to defend itself from these ground launch, ground to surface cruise missile systems that the Ukrainians could be using. Now, is it possible that the Ukrainians are using other systems? Could the Ukrainians have received the Harpoon 2? Are there other systems, maybe clandestine shipments of Exocets? That is a possibility that cannot be eliminated as well, and we'll only find out this information as we fast forward into history 10 years from now, much like other wars have occurred, and then we find out what really happened, what really occurred. And is it possible they weren't Neptunes? Yeah, it's possible. I would say possibly doubtful at this point, and in all probability, if the ship was hit, it may have been, in fact, the Neptune weapon system. So you can't discount the ability of the Ukrainians to field relatively advanced systems that are very capable. Ukraine is an industrialized nation with close ties to the West, or they have been in recent years. So the likelihood that some sort of technology sharing occurred is very, very possible that made some of these weapon systems better. And even without the technology sharing, the Ukrainians probably could, just like the Russians, can field some very adequate weapon systems, especially regarding surface warfare missiles designed to take out warships. And this ship, kind of going back to this being an incredibly large concern for the Russian Ministry of Defense, the Russian Navy. But this vessel had roughly 200 personnel on board. It displaces a fully loaded, about 4,000 tons, so fairly large vessel. It has the ability to launch caliber cruise missiles and the P-800 Onyx high supersonic missile system as well. Most likely this ship has been launching caliber cruise missiles in the ongoing conflict. But it also contains 24 vertical launch cells for medium-range air defense missiles as well, that should have been able to intercept and destroy the inbound Ukrainian Neptune weapon system. So really it would be fantastic to have some subject matter experts in surface warfare. I am not that, but I definitely would like to see something in the comment section in terms of what could be the issue with Russian warships right now where they are taking these kinds of hits from these quite possibly these Neptune cruise missile systems that are being fired. And it is believed that the vessel was well off the coast of Ukraine, within the vicinity of the now notorious Snake Island, probably somewhere within the vicinity of that, maybe to the southeast of that locale, but definitely should have been able to detect inbound cruise missiles and at least shoot some down, depending on how many were actually launched. Was it a saturation attack? I find it difficult to believe that the Ukrainians had produced enough of these to launch said saturation attack against the vessel. It sounds like it may have been one or two that were fired, and one got through and hit the vessel. And again, the vessel is reportedly on fire, and some reports indicate that the vessel has in fact sunk. So very distressing news, if you are a supporter of the Russian Navy and the Russian military and the Russian Federation. And this is going to, I imagine, really reverberate through Russian naval circles and ask the question, is our naval ships able to protect itself from surface missiles? And right now, if this appears to be true, if we find that in fact the ship was hit and is on fire, just like the flagship of the Black Sea Fleet, you have to start asking questions like, what is going on? And this ship, again being commissioned in 2017, should have been able to protect itself. And if not, if the Russians do have an issue with detecting these smaller cruise missiles and bringing them down before they hit their vessels, then why was the vessel operating in such a close vicinity to Odessa and in the areas where the Ukrainians have been firing these anti-ship weapon systems at Russia? Why wasn't it operating further, much deeper in the Black Sea or to the east of the Crimean Peninsula? Obviously, the caliber cruise missiles that this ship fires have extended range and could, in fact, hit any target in Ukraine, even if it was positioned in the Caspian Sea. So I would have to say, why would Russia be operating that close to the Ukrainian ports and landmass when Russia knows that this capability exists? And what we're starting to see is this common thread that maybe Russian radars are having trouble identifying and achieving a lock on these smaller airborne targets that have these small radar cross sections, and maybe the Russians just are not seeing them, and it's the weapon system that's designed to bring these anti-ship missiles down isn't working. So something is broken in the Russian defense sector. If we find out, in fact, this is true, we have multiple cases where anti-ship cruise missiles have been fired at U.S. Destroyers, such as off the coast of Yemen, and we know that the United States has been very successful in bringing down those Chinese-made anti-ship missile systems. So something is, if in fact this did occur, and we can't confirm that as of yet, but if it did occur, something is wrong, and the Russians are going to need to repair this very, very quickly if there were to be some sort of major naval engagement between the Russian Federation and a more advanced navy. Then the Russians could quite possibly be in a world of hurt. Or are we looking at an era in which large surface ships and and you look at the other side in terms of these anti-ship missile systems, maybe we're getting to a point just like we're kind of seeing now with some of these anti-tank weapon systems. Maybe the era of the large surface ship is lagging behind the anti-ship missile systems that exist. You have to look at that, and obviously the processing power of missiles and some of the stealth designs that can be incorporated into some of these very small missile systems. I think you have to start looking at, and is that part of the issue that we're looking at now? And that could concern all kinds of navies, kind of going into the future of naval combat, depending on who's fighting who and what resources are available. But in other news, the fighting continues in the eastern Donbass. We are getting reports of continued Ukrainian counter-offensive operations within the vicinity of Kharkov, directed at Russian forces. And in some cases, the Ukrainian forces have pressed very close to the Russian border. Is there a possibility that we could see the Ukrainians press into Russia proper in the ongoing fight? Could the Ukrainians at some point attempt to threaten Belgorod at some point? I would say at this point it's doubtful, but given the continued mobilization by Ukrainian forces, and they continue to put up tenacious resistance, and we can absolutely confirm that the Ukrainians are conducting counteroffensive operations both to the north and southeast of Kharkov. So that is occurring, but at the same time, the Russians continue with their operations directed at Kramatorsk and Sloviansk. And we have also received early reports that there has been a very small Ukrainian counteroffensive within the direction of Izium as well. So this was the main area that the Russians were looking for a breakout. They achieved the securing of the town of Izium. They then established multiple bridgeheads over the Sovetske Donets River, and have since pushed up to 22 battalion tactical groups within the environments of Izium and across that key river terrain feature, and continue to try to press offensive operations towards Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. We do know that they are moving relatively slow, continuing to use heavy artillery strikes to prep the battlefield, and are limiting some of their maneuver forces. But at the same time, we are starting to see Ukrainian counterattacks to the north of and west of Izium, and then obviously the continued Ukrainian counteroffensive that is taking place near Kharkov or Kharkiv. In other news, we continue to see very heavy fighting within the vicinity of Popasnaya. Street-to-street, house-to-house fighting is confirmed and continues. And then obviously the Russians continue to use its heavy artillery assets and long-range rocket fire in an attempt to prep and reduce Ukrainian formations within the vicinity of the area of Kramatorsk, Severodonetsk, and Sloviansk. In the vicinity of Mariupol, specifically the metallurgical plant. It appears the Ukrainians are still resisting. There is a reported vast bunker complex, Soviet-era bunker complex that quite possibly has been expanded by Ukrainian forces as well. And the Ukrainians continue to resist, anywhere from 500 to and upwards to 2,000 personnel. Continue to fight Russian forces in the tunnels and under the metallurgical facilities, and that fighting continues. There was reports that contact had been lost and then reestablished with some of those Ukrainian fighting units. Very difficult to say accurately what's happening, but obviously the Russians continue to bomb targets in that area and continue to utilize infantry formations to engage and destroy Ukrainian forces that continue to hold out in that area. But that pretty much covers it for today. We're watching the issue with the The relatively, well, not relatively, the modern Russian frigate that may have been hit off the coast of the Black Sea. I don't want to hype that up too much. I mean, anything is possible in a warfare, and obviously, we know with absolute certainty the Ukrainians are receiving direct assistance from the United States, from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, in the location of a lot of these vessels. So that is going to factor in as well in terms of some of the Ukrainian capability and the Ukrainian capability to target and attack some of these Russian vessels. We know that U.S. Global Hawks long-range, high-endurance drones are operating within the vicinity, and in all probability, the Ukrainians are receiving direct and probably hourly, if not minute-by-minute updates on Russian deployments of its naval Black Sea fleet in the Black Sea. In addition, obviously, the Western alliances continue to provide Ukraine with real-time intelligence on Russian air operations and the location of Russian aircraft crossing over the Ukrainian border. And then obviously the monitoring of Russian troop movements as well. So it's highly likely that the Ukrainians may have better intelligence in terms of Russian movements, both in the air, in the sea, and on the ground, than the Russians may actually have themselves, if all the assets of the United States and the NATO alliance are being utilized to locate and observe Russian forces. And that is a tremendous advantage that the Ukrainians would be receiving. But that's what we have for today. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will talk very, very soon. Have a good day, everybody.